On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 prepared for a routine journey from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. On board were 239 people, passengers and crew, representing more than a dozen different countries, each with their own stories, dreams, and destinations. The flight was scheduled to last just under 6 hours, a journey that had been completed countless times before. The Boeing 777, a modern and reliable aircraft, took off at 12:41 a.m. local time. The plane lifted into the night sky, following a well-established flight path across the South China Sea, its lights twinkling as it climbed steadily away from the city below. For the first 38 minutes, everything appeared perfectly normal. The pilots communicated calmly with air traffic control, the cabin crew began their routine service, and passengers settled in for the overnight flight. Some reading, some sleeping, others watching movies or chatting quietly. At 1:19 a.m., as MH370 approached the edge of Malaysian airspace and prepared to enter Vietnamese control, the cockpit transmitted a final message. "Good night, Malaysian 370. The words were calm, routine. Nothing seemed amiss. These would become the last words ever heard from the flight. Moments later, the world would lose contact with MH370 forever. Just 2 minutes after that final transmission, the aircraft's transponder was switched off. The plane vanished from civilian radar screens, leaving only a ghostly silence in its wake. Air traffic controllers in both Vietnam and Malaysia tried desperately to re-establish contact, calling repeatedly over the radio. But there was no response, only an unsettling, growing silence. No distress signal was ever sent. There were no reports of turbulence, bad weather, or mechanical trouble. The night was clear, the flight uneventful, until it wasn't. In an instant, MH370 went from a routine flight to a complete mystery. One moment it was on course, the next it had simply disappeared, leaving no trace in the vast expanse of the sky. The disappearance triggered immediate confusion and growing alarm among aviation officials, air traffic controllers, and the airline itself. No one could explain how a modern jetliner could vanish so completely. As news of the missing flight spread, the world watched in disbelief. Headlines flashed across television screens and newspapers, and the search area quickly expanded as authorities scrambled for answers. At airports, families and friends waited anxiously, clinging to hope and searching for any scrap of information. Many had no idea that their loved one's flight had simply vanished without a trace. The search for MH370, and for answers, began on an unprecedented scale. International rescue teams, ships, aircraft, and satellites scoured vast stretches of ocean. But the mystery only deepened. The disappearance of MH370 would become one of the greatest aviation mysteries of all time, leaving the world forever changed and searching for answers that remain elusive to this day. As dawn broke, the world awoke to what seemed like an ordinary day. But in the quiet hours of the morning, a routine flight vanished without a trace, setting off a chain of events that would grip the globe. News of MH370's disappearance stunned the world. Television screens everywhere flashed urgent headlines, and airports buzzed with confusion and fear as the story unfolded in real time. In Beijing, families waiting for arrivals were met with silence and growing panic. The anticipation of reunion turned to dread as hours passed with no word, no explanation, only uncertainty. The plane was not on radar, not landed, not anywhere. Arrival boards remained blank, and air traffic controllers stared at screens, searching for a blip that never returned. Search and rescue teams scoured the South China Sea but found nothing. Ships and aircraft combed the waters, hoping for debris, a signal, any sign of life. The hours turned to days, hope faded, and speculation grew. Families clung to each other, desperate for answers, while the world watched, transfixed by the unfolding tragedy. Then, a breakthrough. Malaysian military radar showed the plane had turned back, flying west over the Malay Peninsula and out over the Andaman Sea. This revelation changed everything, raising more questions than answers. This was no accident. Someone had deliberately diverted the aircraft. The possibility of human intervention sent shockwaves through the investigation. Communication systems were disabled by someone with expert knowledge. Whoever was responsible knew exactly what they were doing, making the plane invisible to both civilian and military radar. The search area expanded from a small patch of ocean to vast corridors stretching north and south. The scale of the operation grew exponentially, involving dozens of countries and countless resources. Satellite data revealed the plane had flown for up to 7 more hours after its last contact. This astonishing fact deepened the mystery, suggesting a journey far longer and stranger than anyone had imagined. The world watched in disbelief as the mystery deepened. Newsrooms scrambled for updates, and people everywhere speculated about what could have happened. Was it hijacking, terrorism, or something else entirely? Investigators faced a puzzle with almost no clues, and every theory seemed more improbable than the last. The search now spanned continents and oceans. International teams joined forces, united by a single goal: to find MH370 and bring answers to the world. MH370 had become a global enigma, leaving families desperate for answers. Vigils were held, photos clutched tightly, and prayers offered in every language. The scale of the mystery was unprecedented. The disappearance of MH370 would haunt the world, a chilling reminder of how, even in the modern age, an entire plane could simply vanish. With mounting evidence pointing south, investigators faced a daunting reality. The search for MH370 shifted to the vast, remote Indian Ocean, far west of Australia, one of the most isolated stretches of water on Earth. Dozens of countries joined the unprecedented hunt, deploying ships, aircraft, satellites, and the latest technology in a massive, coordinated effort. The search area was staggering. Millions of square kilometers of deep, unpredictable, and often dangerous sea stretching beyond the horizon. For weeks, search planes and ships scoured the surface, responding to every possible lead. Each new sighting brought hope, but only led to false alarms and heartbreak. As surface searches failed, the operation moved underwater. Teams deployed sonar arrays and autonomous vehicles, scanning the ocean floor for any sign of wreckage. Over nearly 3 years, crews mapped 120,000 square kilometers of seabed, an area larger than many countries. Yet no trace of the plane was found. In January 2017, after years of exhaustive searching and mounting costs, the official search was suspended, leaving many questions unanswered. Families were left devastated, clinging to hope, but forced to accept that the ocean had swallowed all traces of their loved ones. Even the world's most advanced technology and brightest minds were humbled by the sheer scale and mystery of the sea. The fate of MH370 remained a haunting mystery, echoing across the waves and in the hearts of those left behind. Suspicions soon focused on the cockpit, especially Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah. He was experienced and respected, but investigators had to consider the possibility of a deliberate act. Theories emerged. Had the captain depressurized the cabin, rendering passengers unconscious, then flown the plane to oblivion? Evidence was circumstantial: the disabling of systems, the unusual flight path, and a similar route found on Zahari's home flight simulator. Yet no conclusive proof or motive was ever found. The official investigation could not determine the cause, nor rule out third-party interference. The truth about MH370's final moments remains elusive, and the captain's legacy is forever shadowed by doubt. For over a year, the Indian Ocean revealed nothing. Then, in July 2015, a flaperon from MH370 washed up on Reunion Island, definitive proof the plane had crashed. More debris followed, scattered along African coastlines. Oceanographers traced the drift patterns, refining the likely crash zone along the 7th arc. Analysis of the flaperon suggested it was retracted at impact, pointing to a high-speed, uncontrolled dive. The evidence supported the theory that the plane ran out of fuel and crashed violently. Each fragment told a story of destruction, but the main wreckage and black boxes remained lost. For families, the debris brought both pain and confirmation. The full story of MH370's end was still out of reach. As official searches ended, independent researchers turned to new science. British engineer Richard Godfrey analyzed global radio signals, detecting anomalies that may trace MH370's path. His radio tripwire technique points to a crash site just outside the original search area. Meanwhile, scientists studied barnacles on the flaperon, using their shell chemistry to reconstruct the debris ocean journey. This barnacle geochemistry narrows the possible crash zone. These innovative methods offer hope that the wreckage could still be found. Science is rewriting the search for MH370. Even after a decade, the quest for answers continues. In late 2024, Australian scientist Vincent Line proposed a chilling new theory. He argued the pilot executed a controlled ditching, aiming to hide the plane in a deep, rugged trench at Broken Ridge in the Indian Ocean. Line's analysis of debris damage suggests a gentle landing, not a violent crash. He linked this location to a flight path found on the captain's home simulator. If true, the wreckage may be hidden in a nearly inaccessible underwater canyon. The theory offers a possible answer, but little comfort for families seeking closure. In 2025, hope is rekindled as Malaysia launches a new search led by Ocean Infinity, a leader in deep-sea robotics. The company will only be paid if it finds the wreckage, a high-stakes, no-find, no-fee mission. Armed with new data and technology, Ocean Infinity will scan a targeted 15,000 square kilometer area, integrating radio and drift analysis. The search window is set for the calmer months of January to April. For families, this is a final, crucial chance for answers. The world watches as ships return to the seventh arc. The outcome could finally solve aviation's greatest mystery. Closure may be within reach. MH370's disappearance shocked the aviation world, exposing critical gaps in flight tracking. In response, new regulations now require planes to broadcast their position every minute in distress, even if systems are disabled. The tragedy forced a global rethink of safety and technology. For families, the loss is a legacy of grief and unanswered questions, but also of advocacy and change. MH370's story is one of loss, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of truth. The 2025 search offers hope, but the flight's legacy is already written. MH370 will forever be the flight that changed the skies.